Hello, everyone. I'm James. Welcome back to Easy English for You. Last week, we talked about J.K. Rowling's story. We learned how she used to feel hopeless, but she decided to keep writing. Many of you left comments saying you felt inspired. Some of you said you started writing again. That made me so happy. Today, I want to share something even more powerful. It's about a question that everyone asks. How should I live after 50? Is it too late to change? Is it too late to find meaning? Let me tell you something. It's never too late. And today, you will learn why. Now, let me teach you two important patterns. These patterns will help you express your thoughts about life and change. Pattern number 1 is allow myself to. This means you give yourself permission to do something. You let yourself be free. For example, I allow myself to rest. This means you give yourself permission to take a break. Another example, I allow myself to dream again. This means you let yourself hope for something new. Native speakers use this when they want to talk about self-care and personal freedom. It's about being kind to yourself. Got it? If you understand, please leave a comment saying, "Got it." If you have any questions, please write them in the comments. I read every single one. Pattern number 2 is no longer. This means something stopped happening. You don't do it anymore. For example, I'm no longer afraid. This means you were afraid before, but not now. Another example, I no longer feel lost. This means you felt lost in the past, but you found your way. Native speakers use this to show change and growth. It's powerful because it shows the old you versus the new you. Do you understand? If yes, type "Got it" in the comments. If you have questions, I'm here to help. Now, let me tell you why these two patterns are perfect for today's topic. I want to talk about life after 50. Why is this important? Because many people think 50 is the end. But I believe 50 is the beginning. In Chinese philosophy, there's a beautiful concept called Ji Tian Ming, which means knowing your heaven's calling. Confucius said that at 50, he finally understood his life's purpose. Not at 20, not at 30, at 50. Think about that. The wisest man in ancient China found his true meaning at 50. Let me be honest with you. A few years ago, I met many people in their 50s. They felt stuck. They felt like life was passing them by. They no longer believed in their dreams. They no longer felt excited about tomorrow. Instead of living, they were just surviving. Instead of growing, they were just aging. Maybe some of you feel the same way. Maybe you look in the mirror and think, is this all there is? Maybe you feel like you missed your chance. I understand that feeling. I really do. But one day, I learned about Steve Jobs. You probably know him. He created Apple. He changed the world with the iPhone and iPad. But do you know his story at 50? When Jobs was 30, he was fired from Apple, the company he built, the company he loved. They told him to leave. He felt devastated. He felt like a failure. He no longer knew who he was. He no longer felt confident. But something amazing happened. He allowed himself to start over. He allowed himself to try new things. He created Pixar and made beautiful movies. He learned new skills. He grew as a person. Then, at 42, he returned to Apple. And from his 40s to his 50s, he created the most incredible products in history. The iPod, the iPhone, the iPad. All of this happened after 40, after people thought he was done. In 2005, when he was 50, he gave a famous speech at Stanford University. He talked about death. He talked about meaning. He said something powerful. He said, "Remembering that you will die is the best way to avoid thinking you have something to lose." Do you understand what he meant? When you know life is short, you stop wasting time. You stop living for others. You start living for yourself. Let me show you what this means in real life. Let me show you how to live after 50 with purpose and joy. First, allow yourself to dream again. I know society tells you to be realistic at 50. But realistic dreams are boring dreams. Allow yourself to want something big. Allow yourself to imagine a different life. It's not too late. Jobs created the iPhone at 52. You have time. Second, you are no longer responsible for everyone's happiness. I know you spent 30 years taking care of others, your parents, your children, your boss, but now it's your turn. You no longer need to say yes to everything. You no longer need to please everyone. Allow yourself to say no. Allow yourself to put yourself first. Third, allow yourself to fail. This is so important. At 50, you might think, I can't afford to fail now. But that's exactly wrong. At 50, you have wisdom. You have experience. You can fail faster and learn faster. Allow yourself to try something new. Allow yourself to be a beginner again. Steve Jobs failed many times, but each failure taught him something. Fourth, you are no longer defined by your past. Maybe you made mistakes. Maybe you chose the wrong career. Maybe you lived for others' expectations. That's okay. You are no longer that person. You no longer need to carry that weight. Allow yourself to let go. Allow yourself to forgive yourself. The past is gone. Today is new. Fifth, allow yourself to slow down. Society says you must hustle, you must work harder, you must do more, but you no longer believe that lie. You no longer measure your worth by how busy you are. Allow yourself to rest. Allow yourself to enjoy the moment. Life is not a race. Sixth, you are no longer afraid of judgment. When you were young, you cared what everyone thought. Will they like me? Will they approve? But now you are no longer that person. You no longer need their approval. Allow yourself to be different. Allow yourself to be yourself. This is the greatest freedom. Seventh, allow yourself to find your calling. Confucius called it knowing heaven's command. Steve Jobs called it connecting the dots. It means looking back at your life and finally seeing the pattern. All your experiences, all your pain, all your lessons, they were preparing you for this moment. At 50, you finally understand. You are no longer confused about your purpose. Allow yourself to follow it. And you know what happens when you do this? Everything changes. You are no longer tired all the time. You feel energy again. You are no longer living for weekends. Every day becomes meaningful. You no longer feel regret. You feel gratitude. You no longer worry about the future. You feel excited. You allow yourself to laugh more. You allow yourself to love more. You allow yourself to live more. This is what knowing your heaven's calling means. It's not about religion. It's not about destiny. It's about finally becoming who you were meant to be. Steve Jobs said in his Stanford speech, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life." He was 50 when he said that. He had already faced death. He knew what mattered. And now, let me ask you, are you living your life or someone else's life? You don't need to answer me. Just answer yourself. If you feel stuck, I want you to try something, just for 1 week. Allow yourself to do one thing you've always wanted to do. Maybe it's painting. Maybe it's traveling. Maybe it's starting a small business. Just one thing. And practice saying, "I'm no longer afraid." Say it out loud. I'm no longer afraid of change. I'm no longer afraid of being different. I'm no longer afraid of starting over. Say it until you believe it. Because here's the truth. 50 is not the end. 50 is when life finally makes sense. 50 is when you finally become free. You spent the first 50 years learning. Now spend the next 50 years living. I believe in you. Age is just a number. What matters is your spirit, and your spirit has no age. Thank you so much for watching today. If this message touched your heart, please hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. I make videos like this every week to help you grow. Also, if you want to go deeper, consider joining our membership. You will get a PDF file with all of today's patterns and key lessons. It will help you practice and remember everything we learned. Remember this, you are no longer too old to change. Allow yourself to begin again. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep going and keep growing.